Good evening. I'm excited to get on tonight. I'm excited to get on tonight. I am back in Arizona after a couple days in Provo, Utah. But I want you guys to know how grateful I am for this platform, the opportunity that I have to share information that I truly believe can make a huge impact in people's lives. And so, what I'm going to be talking about is something that affects 93% of us, right? It affects a lot of us. And most people don't know what it is. And so my name is Troy, and I'm here and what I do is I help people improve their health. Okay. And I help people improve their health with this. Now, some of you can obviously see that I have this listed in the TikTok shop. Okay. And I'm going to be talking about this. Okay. We do it with these, right? My question to you is, have you guys ever seen or heard of the Feel Great system? And I would imagine if some of you are on TikTok or social media in general, that you probably have heard of it. Okay. And what I love about this is making a difference in people's lives, right? Insulin resistance is something that affects so many of us. And it's important for us to understand, number one, what kind of goes on, right? And so I'm really excited to get on and share something, right? 9 out of 10 people, okay, and really the percentage is 93%, have what is called insulin resistance, right? People are struggling with their health, okay? And I'm talking to as many people as I possibly can about blood sugar problems, insulin problems, type 2 diabetes, okay? When you're looking at this list, folks, okay, as you look at this list, which of these resonates with you the most? Okay, as you look at this list, and hopefully you guys can see this, but what resonates the most to you? Okay. Armin, thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. And if you can't see it, I'll read some of these off. But we have diabetes, okay, which is, believe it or not, it's 54% of our country. Okay. We have, oops, the staple's coming out of this. We have obesity, we have brain fog, we have sleep apnea, we have high cholesterol. How many of you know somebody with Alzheimer's or dementia? What about skin tags, right? Psoriasis, eczema, adult acne, right? Psoriasis, these are, skin conditions, maybe even the dark patches of skin, right? Armin, you said your uncle, okay? How many of you are familiar with fatty liver disease? What's interesting is that fatty liver disease, before 1980, okay, before 1980, people that had this were alcoholics. And now we have 3-year-olds. Okay, we've got 3-year-olds that are being diagnosed with what is called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. We have 2-year-olds that are type 2 diabetic. How many of you are tired all the time? Right? Constant fatigue. How many of you have high blood pressure? How many of you have IBS or leaky gut? Okay, Dee, thank you for hopping on. How many of you have migraines, right? I had these for 23 years, if you can believe that, having migraines. It's crazy. How many women have PCOS, right? In the United States, about 26% of American women have this, okay? What about erectile dysfunction and low testosterone? And no, I'm not talking about guys in their 60s, right? I'm talking about guys in their 20s, okay? What about constant cravings? This is a big one, right? How many of us are craving food even late at night, right? We're constantly eating. How many of you have inflammation or neuropathy? Neuropathy is a bad one, right? This is the tingling sensation in our foot, in our hands, right? It is that burning sensation. It's very, very painful. I wouldn't wish that upon anyone. Now, the reason why we have these health issues, right? And the reason why 9 out of 10 people have these health issues, right? Cravings, belly fat, inflammation, these are some of the most common, but it's unfortunately very common. And the reason why these are so common today is because the modern diet causes high blood sugar. Okay, when you're looking at this, it causes high blood sugar and high insulin. Okay, when you and I eat food, especially sugar and especially carbs, and Southern Dom, thank you for the follow. Every single time you and I eat, doesn't matter what it is, it spikes our blood sugar. So as we eat, our blood sugar and our insulin spikes. This is what leads to FAT storage. Okay, this is what leads to this, and it leads to damage. Okay, and the goal is, right, when these levels are down here, that means that your body is basically burning your stored energy. So how many of you, right, are constantly eating, right? How many of you have some excess weight that you'd like to get rid of? And Beth May, what I would encourage you to do is just look at the ingredients, right? And make sure that there's not hidden sugars, because ultimately it could potentially break your fast, right? Anything that triggers a glucose or an insulin spike is going to break your fast, okay? And so one of the reasons why I get on here and I talk about the Feel Great system, okay, is we want to help minimize the pain that people are having, okay? We want to minimize the high blood sugar. We want to help the blood sugar to be in normal ranges, because when that happens, that means that your body is in a healing state. And these health issues, right, these symptoms of insulin resistance are things that can start improving. That's what this is all about. I talk to as many people as I possibly can about blood sugar problems and insulin problems. Because if we want to stop what's going on, meaning if we want to stop the fat storage and the high insulin throughout the day, okay, we've got to be able to control blood sugar and our insulin. If we can control our blood sugar, if we can control our insulin, everything changes. Does that make sense? This is exactly why I get on here every single day and I talk about the Feel Great system, which is why it's listed here in the TikTok shop. This is why these are so cool, because whenever you're not eating, you can sip on this one. You can sip on this yellow packet. Okay, it's what I'm sipping on now. It's called Unimate. This helps keep your blood sugar and your insulin low. And what it really does for me is it eliminates the food noise. I want you guys to think of it as a natural Ozempic. Okay, I've got to change the name, but how many of you are foodies like me, right? You're eating all the time. So for me, whenever I'm not eating, I sip on this yellow packet, because what it does is it literally just shuts the food noise off. And for me, I need that. I need to shut the food noise off. Before I learned about insulin resistance and about the Feel Great system, I was eating the 3 meals a day. I was snacking throughout the day, right? This was information that you and I were taught back in the late 90s, right? We were taught to move more, eat less, but we were taught to have smaller meals throughout the day. So we're eating a bunch of meals, okay? And so when you think about this, okay, this is a healthy replacement for snacks, for energy drinks, because it does not break your fast. Okay. And right before your biggest meal of the day, which for most people is usually dinner or lunch, right? You're going to take this packet, this fiber. Okay. Hessling, thank you so much. Okay. When you take this right before you eat your biggest meal, what it's going to do is it's going to help your body to stay in fat burning mode. It is helping to give relief. The reality is that when you and I eat food, it's going to spike your blood sugar, right? This is what happens most of the time whenever we're eating. So if this is breakfast, and this is a snack, and this is lunch, then this is a snack, then this is dinner. And ultimately what happens is your insulin stays elevated throughout the day. If insulin is high, folks, it's going to be really, really hard to start losing that weight, right? It's going to be really hard to get rid of those issues, those symptoms that you might be struggling with. And so why this is so powerful is because whenever I'm not eating, okay, I sip on this, okay? And what it does is it keeps my glucose and my insulin levels low, okay? And then if I eat a little bit, we're not going to have as big as a spike, right? It helps prevent and diminish the glucose and the insulin spike, okay? We're not going to have that big of a spike, okay? And then it allows this to come back down. It is keeping our levels low, okay? And then, let's just say that this is dinner, right? You're going to have this fiber right before your biggest meal, okay? And it prevents blood sugar and insulin from spiking so that you and I can stay in range. That is what leads to your body getting rid of stored energy. Okay, a lot of us have a lot of excess energy that's stored in our body. You know what's interesting is that if insulin levels are high all the time, your body is storing FAT. I actually call insulin the love handle hormone. Because the truth is that if it's high, your body is storing. Okay, this is why people are tired all the time. This is why we might be craving food all the time. Okay, and so the goal is helping people to get relief from something that they've been struggling with for perhaps a really long time, right? How many of you, if you feel comfortable, okay, that can share how long you have been struggling with these health issues, okay? How long have you been dealing with this, right? And Persnicky, right? So the fiber is a blend of soluble and insoluble fibers, okay? And what it does is it creates a barrier inside of our body. And what it does is it helps to blunt the glucose spikes, okay? If you guys understand the glycemic index, right? The glycemic index is basically, displaying the glucose and the insulin spike based on the foods that we have. So if we eat carbs, right, carbs turns into sugar. It's going to have a massive blood sugar effect, right? It's going to spike really high. Protein and fats have little to no effect, right? It doesn't trigger the glucose as much, which means that your body's not releasing as much insulin, okay? This is one of the reasons why when I teach people and coach people, I encourage people to have fiber first before they eat a meal, whether that's vegetables or whether that's a salad, whether that's broccoli or beans or flax or chia seeds or, avocados. Artichokes are some great sources of fiber. But when you have fiber first, essentially what you're doing, it's almost like you're putting on a protective coat. Keeps you warm, it protects you, okay? It allows your body to get the nutrients, but the fiber that our body needs. And for the most part, we are getting less than half of the amount of fiber that you and I need every day. And so as we get more fiber, okay, it's going to help slow down our digestion, okay? It's going to slow down the absorption of the sugar and the carbs from the foods that we eat, which helps to prevent those glucose spikes from being enormous. Okay. How many of you grew up believing that breakfast was the most important meal of the day? If you were told that breakfast was the most important meal of the day, would you guys mind typing breakfast in the chat? Okay. It helps me to know how many people, right, experienced. I thought my entire life that breakfast was the most important meal of the day. So I had a bowl of cereal or bagels or something, right? And here's the truth, folks. The truth is that our body actually works better when we're not eating first thing in the morning. And the reason why is when you and I sleep, okay, our body, the insulin and the glucose has had a chance to come down. And so when you wake up, your body is literally in a fasting state. Okay, when you're in a fasted state, okay, your body literally has the ability, okay, to continue burning the stored FAT and the stored energy inside of our body. This is why I love the Feel Great system, because when I'm sipping on this first thing in the morning, it doesn't break my fast and it allows my body to continue remaining in that burning mode, right? Your body has two fuel sources, okay? And you guys probably already know this, right? I'm probably preaching to the choir. But your body has two fuel sources. We're either burning sugar from the foods that we're eating, or we are burning our stored FAT. Okay? If we're eating all the time, your body's constantly storing FAT. It's storing energy. But if we are going longer periods of time without eating, you are giving your body the ability to start repairing itself and healing itself, right? We're allowing these glucose and insulin spikes to come down. So when we start our day with something like loops of fruit, right? Something like this, ultimately what happens is that's just carbs and sugar. So ultimately it's going to blow up your blood sugar like a roller coaster. And ultimately what it does is it sets us on this blood sugar roller coaster for the rest of the day. Because once you get that massive blood sugar spike, okay, and 20 or 30 minutes later, the glucose comes crashing down, which causes you to either be tired or hungrier. And so now we're craving more sugar and more carbs. And ultimately what happens is we're spiking insulin spike on insulin spike on insulin spike. And that is what leads to a lot of these symptoms, right? 93% of people have what is called insulin resistance. You know, Solomon said in the Bible, in all you're gaining, gain understanding. When we start to understand our body, understanding why our body reacts the way that it does to the foods that we eat, to the stress in our lives, right? All of this contributes to what's going on metabolically. How many of you wake up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, or maybe earlier, every single night to go to the bathroom? Frequent urination is a sign of what is called insulin resistance. Insulin resistance means that our cells of our body become resistant to insulin. Because you have to understand that when you and I eat, right, it spikes our blood sugar. And our pancreas releases a hormone called insulin. Insulin's job is to basically grab the glucose out of our bloodstream, deliver it to our cells, and our cells will get the energy that we need, our brain, or like our whole body, right? We need the energy. But what happens is when your cells become overloaded with insulin, it closes the door and it throws the key, or it changes the locks, right? Insulin is the key. Your cells are the lock. And what happens is that that key no longer works. But you've got all of this excess glucose, folks, that's sitting in your bloodstream, and your body's doing everything it can to get rid of it. So what it does is your body starts pumping out more and more and more insulin. And if we're eating all day long, it's called hyperinsulinemia. And when insulin is elevated throughout the day, your body cannot get rid of the stored FAT. So you could be eating clean, you could be going to the gym, you could be doing everything right, And I know some of you are, and some of you are frustrated because you're like, man, I'm doing everything right, but I'm taking 2 steps back. And that's because insulin is elevated. We've got to get insulin to come back down. You know what's amazing is that I want you guys to think about this for a second, because insulin resistance affects 93% of us. How many of you like skydiving? Okay, if you like skydiving, would you mind typing skydiving in the chat? If that's you, if you love skydiving. I've only been skydiving once. I would go again. But I just want to share a quick analogy, okay? If you are somebody that loves to go skydiving, okay? When you compare that, and obviously this isn't going to happen, okay? But if insulin resistance happens in 93% of us, just think about this, okay? If you went skydiving 100 times, but you knew that 93 out of the 100 times that parachute wouldn't open, how many of you would be getting on that airplane? How many of you would say, hell no? Right? Most of you would be like, I'm never getting on that airplane. Folks, most of us, most of you that are watching this live might have insulin resistance and you don't even know it. Because one of the biggest problems isn't the fact that we have it, it's the fact that nobody's talking about it. Let me give you just some statistics that came from the University of North Carolina. 3 out of 4 Americans, adults, right, are overweight or obese. Half of our kids are the same. 54% of people are type 2 diabetic or pre-diabetic. We've got 20% more adolescents today that are dealing with diabetes than they were 10 years ago. And what drives that is high glucose and high insulin, right? These are the blood sugar problems and the insulin problems that the majority of us have. And what I love about this is we have something that can help, right? It's called the Feel Great system. I have it listed here if you want to check it out in the shop. And so the sad part is that most people don't know that they even have it, because insulin resistance can develop 10 to 20 years. You can have this fire burning out of control for years or decades before it actually leads to a diabetes diagnosis. Now, there's 2 things that I teach that cost you absolutely zero. You don't have to spend money on this. And the first one is time-restricted eating, going longer periods of time without eating, right? When you avoid food for a period of time, you are avoiding glucose spikes. And that means that your body also does not have to release any insulin, right? When your insulin and glucose comes down, this is where the relief happens. Your body, right, when insulin is low, okay, this is when inflammation comes down. This is when your body is switching from burning food for fuel to now it's burning your stored energy. It's burning your stored FAT. How many of us have the love handles or the belly FAT, right? So when you're fasting, your body literally starts utilizing your belly, right? The visceral fat and things like that. It starts utilizing that as your body's primary source of fuel. But how many of you love fasting, right? How many of you, right, you can't fast? How many of you, you fast for 6 hours and then you're binge eating, right? You feel like you're starving. And that's why I love sipping on this tea, is because it acts as a natural Ozempic. It actually helps your body to produce its own natural GLP-1. Our body produces that. You actually can't give your body GLP-1 because your body actually produces it. Some of us don't ever give our body the ability to do that, which is one of the reasons why, if you and I were to go to our family reunion, okay, how many people at that reunion are struggling with their health? Better yet, how many of them are on a bunch of meds? And so, 9 out of 10 people in our country has this issue called insulin resistance. And it's driven by high glucose and high insulin, right? I used to crave food all the time, especially late at night, right? That was the hardest thing for me because it wasn't like I was craving, you know, good food. I was craving sugary junk food, right? And so, you know, I want you guys to be thinking about your own health. How many years have you been struggling with diabetes or neuropathy or PCOS or ED or fatigue, migraines? Okay. We haven't even begun to talk about gut dysbiosis, right? We're talking about autoimmune issues like rheumatoid arthritis and lupus and, pancreatitis. There's so many things that unfortunately we struggle with. And far too often, ladies and gentlemen, what we are doing is we are throwing medications at our symptoms without fixing the root cause. We're putting a Band-Aid on it. And a lot of these issues that we're seeing in this list right here is super common right now because the modern diet causes high blood sugar and high insulin. And as we eat, we're constantly spiking our glucose and our insulin all the time. This is what leads to the storage and the damage, right? The damage is what we're seeing here. And by the way, if you're diabetic, okay, if we don't address it, if you don't address it, it can lead to cardiovascular disease and heart attack and stroke. It can lead to Alzheimer's and dementia. My 85-year-old mother lives in a memory care facility in Tennessee, and she's on a laundry list of medications. And I just wish, with every bit of my being, I wish that I could help her. And it's so hard that I'm unable to do that. This is one of the reasons why I'm passionate about getting on here every day, because I lost my dad early. My dad passed away, on Easter Sunday, 2017. This is my, let me show you this. I mean, I carry this everywhere I go, but this is my dad, right? And he passed away, okay? He died April 16th, Easter Sunday, 2017, right? And, I was actually the singer that day, right? And, this is a buddy of mine, okay? My buddy passed away early, okay? He was younger than I was. He was a distinguished Navy pilot. He was a distinguished American Airlines pilot. And I think about the people around me. How many people have to struggle with their health before they get relief? If any of you have ever watched my videos is not to get more followers, not to get more likes. I don't care about that. My hope and my prayer is that what I share helps people to avoid the mistakes that I made. Some of you know my story and some of you don't, but back in November of 2014, I donated one of my kidneys to my sister's husband. And I'm grateful for that. I'm honored that I was able to do that. But it was 7 years later when I personally was diagnosed with stage 4 kidney disease. I thought my doctor had the wrong paperwork. I couldn't believe it. I sat there. Miss Benitez, so good to see you. Like, it blew me away. And my doctor said, Troy, you need to lose some weight. You need to change some things in your life. And if you don't, it could lead to dialysis. And so I was prescribed meds. It didn't work. And it was literally 2.5 years later when I learned about the Feel Great system, which is why I talk about this every single day. And I have it listed right here in the TikTok shop, right? I'm sipping on it. I don't go anywhere without this tea. I love it. I love the taste. I love what it's doing for me. And so this is what happens to the majority of us throughout the day. And because these levels are high all the time, this is why we're hungry all the time. We're craving food. We're tired. We're cranky, right? We're hangry, right? How many of us have ever had mood swings, right? Do you guys realize that that's caused by insulin resistance? You know, everybody thinks that just diabetes is insulin resistance, but it's high blood sugar, it's IBS, it's leaky gut, it's, you know, neuropathy, it's, you know, skin issues, skin tags, psoriasis, eczema, the adult acne that we shouldn't have as an adult. Hey, Miji, thank you for hopping on. Okay. How many of you have brain fog? You walk into a room and maybe you forget why we walked into that room, right? Brain fog is Melissa Life in Motion. Thank you for the follow. Okay. 9 out of 10 people have this. And I am talking to as many people about blood sugar problems and insulin problems. If you're just joining this live, that's what I'm talking to people about. Type 2 diabetes and in all of these, you know, conditions that people have that are driven by constant elevated glucose spikes in the body. Folks, every time, even if you eat a grape, right? I used to think that grapes were healthy, right? Grapes are they're literally little sugar bombs. They blow up our blood sugar like a roller coaster, but some of us could be eating grapes thinking, oh my gosh, it's fruit, right? It's healthy. And we don't realize that it is causing our blood sugar to go through the roof. And when your blood sugar spike constantly, guess what else is spiking? Your insulin. Elevated insulin, folks, is what drives the majority of the health issues that we have today. Now, Melissa Life in Motion, I love this protocol as well. The Feel Great system is amazing. It can be a great tool. And the sad part is 93% of people have this, right? If you and I are in a classroom with 100 students, 7 students are passing, 93 students would be considered failing, right? How many of you would love to sign up for that class? Now, here's how you use the system. This is how easy and simple it is, okay? In the morning, okay, what I do is instead of breakfast, I have this, okay? I sip on my mate, okay? This yerba mate tea, okay? It tastes absolutely amazing, and I sip on it in the morning. See, when I skip breakfast, okay, this becomes my breakfast. I actually am not hungry in the morning. It allows me to go longer periods of time without thinking about food. It's like a light switch has just been turned off. And for those of you that eat all the time, right, you're constantly craving that, this might be a great tool for you. And the best part about this, folks, is that if you decide to try the Feel Great system, which I have it linked here, it comes with a 90-day money-back guarantee. So if you're not convinced at all, and if you see no improvements in any one of these, right, going back to this front thing, right, if you see no improvement in any of this, okay, sorry, I'm confused there. If you see no improvement in this, which is what people have, I just tell people, just get your money back. You're not losing anything. There's no risk. And so in the morning, I'm sipping on this. And what it does is it keeps my blood sugar in normal ranges. It's keeping my body in a healing state. Okay. I love Tanya's story, right? She loves the system. A1C went from 10 to 5.5. She's off her meds, 45 pounds. I mean, I love these testimonies. I love the experience that people are having. And everybody's different, right? But what I love is that the experience that people are having when they're giving their body the ability to start improving itself. The goal that I want people to get into is this. Because the reality is that when we're allowing our glucose and insulin spikes to be low, we're offering relief to our bodies, right? We're giving our body a break, first and foremost, from insulin. And here's the thing, fasting is free. Fasting costs you nothing. Fasting is free. It's great. Fasting is the quickest way to regulate our insulin levels, because when you're going longer periods of time, again, without eating, we're avoiding these glucose spikes. And if there's no glucose spikes, folks, it means that You've got no insulin that's, being put in your body. Okay. And it works like that. Maybe I should take that off because then the light kind of blocks my eyes. But the point that I want to make is that if we are eating all the time, which most of us are, we are keeping our insulin elevated. And that's what drives us. This is what's driving and creating the damage inside of our body. And when we give our body relief, guess what? Our body is amazing. Our body has the ability to repair itself if we give our body the ability to do that. Okay. Now, if some of you are still kind of confused on what the symptoms of insulin resistance are, okay, how many of you have belly FAT? How many of you have skin tags? How many of you are peeing all the time, right? Or joint pain? How many of you have high blood pressure? Do you crash after meals? Are you constantly hungry? I had all of these. And I had no idea that they were all connected to one thing. How many of you know what type 3 diabetes is? Okay. If you know what type 3 diabetes is, put the number 3 in the chat. Okay. It's insulin resistance in the brain of an adult. It's linked to Alzheimer's. And what's scary, folks, as I mentioned before, is it can take 10 to 20 years before insulin resistance progresses to a diabetes diagnosis. And so this fire is burning for a really long time. Hi there. Thank you for hopping on. And so the best part about this is that we can start taking action now. And if you've ever been diagnosed with prediabetes or type 2 diabetes, that is a huge red flag. The thing is, these symptoms aren't just normal aging. Just because we're getting older, okay, these are signals from your body that something is off. And insulin resistance could be the culprit. And if you have diabetes, okay, your risk for Alzheimer's and dementia goes up 81%, okay? 80% risk for cardiovascular disease, okay? We're seeing a rising rate in childhood obesity, osteoarthritis, dementia, migraines, PCOS, fatty liver disease. Most of the things that we have today are all connected to insulin resistance. And too often, folks, we're given medications instead of addressing the root cause. This is exactly what this does. And this is why I talk about this. Because when we can get our body, when we can get our insulin in a lower state, our body can start repairing itself. But we've got to control our blood sugar and our insulin. And so there's two things that I teach people. The first one is fasting. It's simple, it's easy. What I love about this tea is it helps you to fast. If fasting is hard, it'll make fasting easier for you. And like I said, anybody is willing to try this risk-free for 90 days. And if you are not convinced that it has made any changes to you, and Batch, let me know if you have any questions. But if you're not convinced it works, the best part about this is you just get your money back. Not losing anything. Hi there. Is 2 weeks. Here's what I tell people, okay? Everybody's body is different. And if you're open to trying the Feel Great system, I encourage everybody to give yourself at least 90 days. Because 90 days is not a big deal in the scheme of things when you think about how long it takes insulin resistance to develop anyways. So I tell people to give yourself 90 days because, again, if you don't notice any changes, you just cancel and get your money back. That's it. There's no hoops to jump through. And so the key is helping to give relief, helping your body to start burning that stored energy. Here's my Charlie. Hi. What are you doing? Don't bite me. High five. High five. High five. Ouch. Ow. You gotta be nice. No bite. He loves to bite. Okay. So I can't say that 2 weeks is enough. I would say no. Okay. But I do believe that people will notice a difference day one. But when I started this in January of 2024, so I've been on this for over 2 years, I didn't think it was going to work. On my calendar, I wrote day 87. I'm calling the company and I'm canceling because I really didn't think it was going to work. And I'm so grateful that I decided to give it a chance anyways, because, in the first week, I had migraine headaches for 23 years that actually went away in the very first week. My acid reflux, the brain fog, okay, the anxiety, depression, the sleep apnea, the things that I had that I was dealing with for a while, what I was amazed is it started to improve. I didn't change my diet. This is why I'm passionate about talking about this, because again, my dad passed away early. My brother was 33 years old when he passed away. And Char Cap, let me know if you have any questions. My brother was 33 when he passed away. I was told that I had stage 4 kidney disease with one kidney. Trevor, 183. Yeah, 183.75. And the best part, folks, is that you can use it for the next 90 days. And if you're not convinced that it's helping you with maybe the symptoms that you're dealing with, the issues that you might have, okay, you can get a refund. So either you get relief from what you're struggling with or you get your money back. That's it. And I'm so grateful that my friend cared enough about me to share this with me, because I easily could have said, you know what, I'm not interested. So butterfly lips, yes. So in here in the TikTok shop, there's raspberry pomegranate. Okay. There is the natural lemon, and during the year they come out with some other ones too. And then the fiber, right? You either have orange. Actually, I think they're sold out of orange, but you have mixed berry. Mixed berry, in my opinion, is better anyways. Okay, guys. Here's the thing: so many things are driven and connected to insulin resistance, and too often, again, we're putting a Band-Aid on it. It all comes down to insulin. We have too much insulin, and our blood sugar. This creates the blood sugar problems. And what happens is that our cells become resistant to it. And so fasting is, made easy when I sip on this. And I remember growing up, like it was the first Sunday of every month, our family would fast, right? And there would be special fasts here and there. But every Sunday, the first of the year, we would fast. And I'll be honest, I thought I was starving because we have been, trained and taught to just eat all the time. And now we have doctors that are talking about this. Now, Linda J, it helps your blood sugar to naturally be in normal ranges. The fiber was created by Rexall. Some of you might even remember Rexall, right? Rexall, I think I have this here. Yeah. Rexall used to be the biggest drugstore in the world, right? And what's amazing is that the doctors and scientists, right, they created this and they did a really good job, but it just didn't sell very well on the shelf because nobody really knew the difference between this particular fiber and maybe psyllium husk, which is not a bad fiber, but it's just one type of fiber. People don't know the difference unless they understand, right? Knowledge is power. When we understand things, we can make better decisions. And so, it's made a difference, okay? And my question to you is that if this made a difference, And if it helped to give relief from some of the things that you might be struggling with, is it worth trying it for 90 days? And if it is, I hope that you guys will add this to the cart, and I hope that you will purchase it. And again, if you're not convinced at all that you've noticed any changes, you either get relief or you get a refund. It's that easy. That's simple. And so, I really wish that I would have known about this 21 years ago. My brother was 33 when he passed away in January of 2005, and obviously my dad passed away April 16th, 2017 on Easter Sunday, right? What a glorious day to go. Grasshopper, thank you so much. And so 9 out of 10 people, isn't that crazy to think that 9 out of 10 people have these issues and they don't know it? Most people don't. Now, if you have a doctor that is talking to you about insulin resistance, hold on to them, right? Because the reality is that most medical professionals are not talking about blood sugar problems and insulin problems, right? And so here's the other thing too that I want to share is that, this has more than 50 clinical studies, right? It is third-party tested. It is in the PDR, if you know what the PDR is. And Grasshopper, thank you so much for being on. I appreciate that. Okay. It's HSA and FSA, and I'm happy to explain that. If you don't know what that is, you should know this, right? But Stanford, Stanford and UCLA and UNLV, Brigham Young University in Provo, Utah, these are institutions that people are aware of, right? The American Heart Association, the Cleveland Clinic, which happens to be the #1 heart hospital in the world. Okay. What about the University of Sydney in Australia, right? These are, blood sugar experts of the world, right? They're the ones that created the glycemic index, the glycemic load. What about Columbia University in New York? There's a bunch of, renowned institutions that have evaluated this. And that's one of the reasons why it's in the PDR. More doctors are starting to talk about this. Especially when patients come in and they're wondering, what is it that you guys are doing that's helping your blood sugar and your insulin to be in normal ranges, right? When these levels are in a normal state, our body can get to that healing state where our body can literally start repairing itself. In fact, when you fast for 24 hours, right? You guys reset your gut. When you fast for 72 hours, which might seem like a really long time, but our body creates stem cells, the things that people spend thousands of dollars to get treatment for. Our body actually can create this on its own. But the modern diet teaches us to eat from the time that we wake up to the time we go to bed. Grasshopper, I have customers in Alaska. This ships to Alaska. We are in 66 countries. So, folks, let me ask you this question. What if instead of chasing the symptoms, we tackled the one thing that's causing them all? Right? If we did that, and if this could help improve our health so much that your doctor is like, what is it that you're doing? Maybe we can help reduce or, improve not only insulin sensitivity, but your energy, mental clarity. So how do we fix insulin, right? And the solution is a lot simpler than you think. I'm not on a diet. I don't follow one. I need to go to the gym every single day, but I don't. In fact, what's interesting is when I was diagnosed with stage 4 kidney disease, I was going to the gym 5 days out of the week. I go to the gym less than that. The science behind, why our body works. It's pretty amazing when you start to understand, and connect the dots. If we can connect the dots, okay, we can make better decisions and we can start finding, real solutions to these problems. The sad part, folks, is that it's so common. Insulin resistance is so common today, and in reality, it's not really getting better. And the Feel Great system that I'm talking about has been around for over 30 years. Most people don't know about it because at the end of the day, are we trying to fix the root cause or are we treating our symptoms? Are we putting a Band-Aid on it or are we fixing the root cause? When I sip on this, and this is exactly how this works, okay, it keeps your body in this fasting state, right? It allows your body to burn that stored energy. This is basic biology, right? When insulin is low, fat's got to go. Your body is literally burning your stored energy. And we've got thousands of stored calories in our body. You know, there's something special when you fast for 17 hours, and you guys can look this up, but it's called autophagy. Autophagy is kind of like buying a house and you're renovating it. When autophagy starts to happen inside of our body is getting rid of old, dead, tired, unhealthy cells, and it starts repairing itself. Our body's pretty amazing, right? If we give our body the environment that it needs to heal, it can heal. And so, you know, this is why I love using this. This is why I love talking about it, because at the end of the day, okay, we've got to understand what insulin resistance is. Most of us don't know what it is. How many of us, okay, Jim, see, I have a customer in Alaska. You know, I'm going to check something out real quick, folks, if you wouldn't mind. I'm not leaving this live, but I just want to check something out. Okay. So give me a second. And you're totally fine. You're not interrupting. I want to make sure that there's no glitch. Oh no, you're totally fine. Because now I'm curious. I'm like, hey, what's going on here? Okay. And why? So let's see what happens here. So let me see here. Oops. I was out of town, and so when you open up your computer for the first time, it just, for whatever reason, sometimes it takes a little while, and I'm on an iMac on the computer, and for whatever reason, like when I open up Chrome, it just seems like it has to download again. It's so weird, but we'll figure this out as soon as it comes up, right? I'm gonna make sure. But how many of us have been told to move more and eat less? You know, they call this the calories in, the calories out approach. And I want you guys to understand that, right? If I'm eating 1,500 calories a day and I'm burning 2,000 calories a day, okay, that's a 500 calorie deficit. And in theory, I should lose a pound a week, right? If I weighed 200 pounds, I don't, but if I did, and if I did this for the next 200 weeks, would I waste down to nothing? And the answer to that is of course not, because our body is a lot smarter than simple math. Our body adapts, right? When we cut calories too much, okay, I'm not sure what's going on with that, but when we cut calories too much, okay, our metabolism actually slows down to match this. Okay. This is weird. Okay. I'm not exactly sure why it's let's see here. All right, let's see. Okay, finally I was able to, but that's what happens, right? And so, you know, there was a study that was done at the Carnegie Institute of Washington back in 1919. And it was crazy because when people reduce their calories, they actually reduce their metabolism equal to the amount of calories that they reduced. But the people were tired all the time. They were hungry. They suffered muscle loss. It's called sarcopenia, if you've ever heard that. Okay. And let me try and do something here. And thank you to everybody who is hitting the follow button and the like button. Folks, when you share this, okay, you're actually sharing this content to people that are actually needing these solutions, right? Most people don't realize that this even exists. And so, you know, I talk to as many people about blood sugar and insulin problems because people understand diabetes and neuropathy and a bunch of other things. Okay, let's see if this takes me here. Okay, sorry, I'm trying something, Grasshopper, because I want to make sure. Okay, let's do this. Okay, let's do this. Okay, check out. All right, so let's do this. Now I'm going to do something here. I'm just going to try something for a second. And Butterfly Lives, thank you so much for sharing this. I appreciate that. I'm going to see something. I'm going to add a new address. Okay, and I'm going to. Okay. Let's do this. All right, I'm going to try something, Grasshopper, because I want to see this. Nope, it can be, you can deliver it to Alaska, Grasshopper. Okay. You 100% can have it shipped to Alaska. So yeah, you're gonna add it to your cart, okay? But yes. And if you run into issues, Grasshopper, here's what I would tell you. Feel free to DM me here in TikTok, okay? And I'm happy to, you know, to help you. But I just put in an address and it worked. I just found some random address in Anchorage. But I know that I have customers that are in Alaska, so I know you can ship it there. But we'll get it figured out. Okay, folks, when you cut calories, okay, which is what a lot of us, right? We've been taught to have smaller meals because it keeps your metabolism high. Okay, when we cut calories too much, your metabolism slows down to match, and now suddenly you're burning less, you're storing more, and oftentimes we feel worse than we did before. And that study, right? It's pretty crazy that, you know, they've known this for over 100 years. Now, the issues that I have, I didn't realize that everything was connected to one thing. And so when I think about this, right, when you think about belly FAT, when you think about migraines, which I had for 23 years, sleep apnea, acid reflux, anxiety, depression, fatigue, right? These were things that I experienced and I don't have them anymore. And the thing is these are signs that your body is resisting insulin, right? Insulin is supposed to help your body absorb sugar and healthy fats, right? But when your cells resist, okay, things get really messy. You know, Dr. Benjamin Bickman, right? He wrote this book called Why We Get Sick. Okay, he's a leading scientist in the world on insulin resistance. But he helped me to understand it all. He says, turns out it's not just about overeating, but also restricting calories the wrong way. Because when you've got insulin resistance, your blood sugar spikes after meals. And what happens is that insulin is working overtime, okay, to store that sugar as FAT, okay? And Beverly Krebs, what I love about this is a natural of what you are on, okay? And it works. And folks, here's the best part about the Feel Great system, okay, that's here in the TikTok shop. The best part about the Feel Great system, folks, is if you're not convinced at all that it works for you, you're either going to get relief from what you're struggling with, or you get your money back. And so, but here's the truth behind insulin, right? When insulin is high, our body is storage mode. When insulin is low, we're in burning mode. But you can't do both at the same time. Okay. Beverly, and I don't know, can you tell me a little bit more about your situation, right? I don't eat 100 grams of protein every single day. In fact, I don't follow a diet. I never, I used to meal prep. I used to do all that. It was time consuming. It was expensive. But I don't. I'm not a big follower when it comes to a diet, because in my opinion, I just don't think that they work long term. I do know that there's people that are on diets and it works for them, and I'm cheering them on. I love it. It has never worked for me. Here's what I encourage people, okay? And I'll write this on this piece of paper. Hopefully I've got a pen that works. Okay. Okay. Here's the order. Okay. Now, hopefully this will help you. Okay. This is the order in which I would encourage people to eat their food. Okay. Let me put a line so you know what this is. Okay. Okay. The idea is that you're going to have fiber first. Okay. And I don't know if you guys can see this. Fiber, protein, fats. You're going to save carbs for last. Okay. Folks, when you start your morning with a bowl of cereal and a glass of orange juice, you are literally setting yourself up on a blood sugar roller coaster. How many of you have ever read this book? I have this listed in the TikTok shop as well, but Metabolical, okay? Dr. Robert Lustig, he is a nutrition genius. Look at my fan. Hi, Charlie. You want to read this book? Huh? She's so funny. She's just chilling up here. Hi. But Dr. Robert Lustig, okay, he wrote this book called Metabolical. He is a nutrition genius. He went to MIT. He's got a medical degree from Cornell. He's got a law degree. And he's super smart. He's a childhood endocrinologist, okay? And Beverly, I would love to have a conversation with you because, when I take this fiber, and there's actually, something else that I don't have here, and I'm happy to talk to you about it. But what's amazing is that when you have the fiber with this other thing, Dr. Benjamin Bickman had talked about the science behind this, that it actually helps to build muscle even if you're not working out. It's pretty amazing. And that's Dr. Benjamin Bickman, right? He wrote this book called Why We Get Sick. And I love Dr. Benjamin Bickman. I love all of these doctors because, they are the ones that do the research, and I wouldn't know what to look. Okay. Taterbug. I love your handle, by the way. Thank you for the follow. Carrie Flynn, how are you? And so I hope that helps you to answer that question in regards to that. And so, folks, now I started to talk about what Dr. Robert Lustig said, okay, in this book, and I'm going to ask you guys this question, okay? What do you believe is the #1 fast food restaurant in the world? Oh, thank you, Beverly. She's just, hi, hi. She just wants to bite me though. Hi, hi, hi. She's a sweetheart. But Dr. Robert Lustig, he said that the number one fast food restaurant in the world is not what you think it is. And I think this will kind of make sense to some of you, or maybe all of you. But he said that our public schools food system is the number one fast food restaurant in the world. Here's the other thing. Look at hospital menus. Even diabetic meal plans are often full of ultra-processed refined carbs. But think about our kids. Think about your kids. I don't have any kids. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to have kids, but I can love on my nieces and nephews. But think about what our kids are having at the start of their day at school. Let's just imagine, folks, that they're having a bowl of this, okay? A bowl of loops of fruit and a glass of orange juice. Now, the combination of sugar from that cereal and a glass of orange juice is about 41 grams of sugar, which is way more than what even adults should have in an entire day, right? You guys remember those little sugar cubes? I need to get some of those little sugar cubes. I never know where to find them. But just one of those little sugar cubes is the amount of sugar that our body needs at any given time in our blood system. The moment we start eating more, it puts our body in fight or flight mode. Okay? And our body reacts to this. I talk to as many people as I can about blood sugar problems and insulin problems. I'm going to have to find that, Carrie. I'm going to go tomorrow and look for it because I want it. Because I want to illustrate, right? The amount of sugar that we eat. And folks, you know, going back to fatty liver disease, right? Before 1980, people that had fatty liver, these were alcoholics, right? Sugar and alcohol both go directly to our liver. It's where it gets broken down. And now we've got 3-year-olds that are being diagnosed with what is called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. That's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And when we go back to this, right, when we look at these symptoms, okay, butterfly lips, absolutely. I want you guys to look at this real quick. What resonates with you, right? If we have one or more of these, we have what is called insulin resistance. Our cells become resistant to insulin, right? Insulin's job, insulin is like an Uber driver, okay? When we eat food and that food is converted into a simple sugar called glucose, it enters our bloodstream. And that's when your pancreas releases insulin. Insulin goes and grabs it out of the bloodstream and it delivers it to our cells. And normally your cells would be okay with this. But what happens is that your cells become resistant to this. And all of that excess glucose, folks, has to get dumped somewhere. So it gets dumped into your liver. Hello, fatty liver disease. It gets dumped into your joints. Hello, arthritis. Too much sugar in your teeth is cavities. In your brain of a child is ADHD, right? All of these things are connected. Now, here's why I love the Feel Great system. And this is how you use this system, right? When I wake up in the morning, I personally skip breakfast, okay? And what I do is I have this. I sip on this, and what it does is it keeps your body in burning mode. It keeps your insulin low, and it keeps your blood sugar in normal ranges, okay? And when your blood sugar is in normal ranges, your body's at a healing point, okay? Your body is repairing itself, which is important, okay? So I sip on the first one first thing in the morning. When I get to lunchtime, if I'm hungry, I'm going to eat lunch as normal, okay? And then right after lunch, I'm going to make my second one of these. So you'll have 2 of these a day, okay? And then right before your biggest meal of the day, you're going to have this fiber. And that fiber is going to help blunt the glucose spike and the insulin spike. Think of it like a superhero, okay? She's spreading her wings She's protecting the lining of your gut. It's going to slow down the absorption of the sugar and the carbs from the foods that we eat. And when you do that, okay, that's where the magic starts to happen. Okay. Now, here are 3 books that I recommend. Okay. And actually 4, but I don't have it listed here. But here is Fast Like a Girl by Dr. Mindy Pelz. Okay. She talks about how fasting can be such a huge tool in helping us to burn our excess belly fat, right? You've got Why We Get Sick by Dr. Benjamin Bickman. And then you've got Metabolical by Dr. Robert Lustig. Okay. And like he's the nutrition genius. Okay. And he said that our number one fast food restaurant in the world is public schools food system, right? And there's some truth to that, right? But the reality is that if we start our day with carbs, okay, it's a blood sugar roller coaster for the rest of the day. Okay. Fast Like a Girl by Dr. Mindy Pelz. And so this is what it's going to look like. Okay. Okay. You're going to get 2 boxes of the tea because you're going to have one in the morning, one after lunch. The balance is the fiber. You're going to have that before your biggest meal. And then it comes with this bottle. And if you do the subscription, it comes with a hand mixer in your first order. Okay. The idea is to try it for 90 days. If you're struggling with these health issues, okay, that's why I use this. Okay. If you're not convinced within 30 days or 90 days, right? The manufacturer gives everybody 90 days. Chris, yes, it's a 30-day supply. If you're not convinced at all that it doesn't work, if you're not getting relief from what you're struggling with, just get a refund. It's that simple. There's more than 50 clinical studies. Okay. It's HSA and FSA eligible. EDR, right? The prescriber's digital reference, the physician's desk reference. This is what doctors use when they're researching and prescribing meds. Okay. Stanford, the University of Sydney in Australia, they're the blood sugar experts of the world. Okay. The Cleveland Clinic. Okay. The number 1 heart hospital in the world. Okay. Butterfly Lips. And by the way, when you guys order using the TikTok shop right here, okay, and feel free to DM me, but when you order using this, okay, and GoGo says, how do I order? So you're going to click on this in the TikTok shop, and it should be pinned right at the bottom. And you just click on that, and it should take you right into selecting the flavor of, what's pinned right now is the natural lemon and the mixed berry for the balance. Butterfly Lips. That's a great question. Okay. There's a lot of people that have continued to use this because they love how it's making them feel. People are finding that they're actually saving money by using this system. Now, I'll never stop using it. But, right, there's some people that accomplish the goal that they've set out in utilizing this and they get off of it, right? And they're maintaining based on lifestyle, right? They've understood fiber first and protein and fats and, saving carbs for last. GoGo, if you feel free to DM me, or what I'll do is when I get off this live, I'm happy to I'll send you the details. Okay. If that works for you. Okay. Now, let me see here. But it's right here. Miji, can you see that it's pinned here on the bottom? Okay. So Miji is viewing the product right now. So I know it is listed right here at the bottom. Okay. Butterfly Lips, it's just for 1 month. Okay. Carrie Flynn, thank you. The orange shopping cart down here in the TikTok shop. And so, folks, this is where the magic happens, right? When you give your body the ability to start taking a break from insulin, a lot of things can change. Okay. Because when we look at this, okay, 93% of people have one or more of these issues. Okay. GoGo, I will send you a message, okay? Or Miji, if you wouldn't mind, feel free to send him yours. If you want to send him a private message. Megan, how are you doing? But this is right when our blood sugar and insulin levels are high, okay, especially for elevated amounts of time, it starts leading to a lot of these, and I have them listed right here as well, right? This is the problem today. Because if we don't take care of this, ultimately what happens is it leads to diabetes, and diabetes can lead to a lot of other serious things. And here's the crazy part, folks. Seriously, you know, when I donated a kidney to my brother-in-law, and 7 years later I was diagnosed with kidney disease. What was interesting is diabetes has never been. Nobody in my family ever had diabetes, but I was prescribed a med that diabetics get, and I was amazed by it because it just made me sick. And then my doctor prescribed Ozempic to me. Go, I have a lot of customers in the UK, 100%. It's available in 66 countries. But my doctor, without really even explaining things, basically put me on meds because he's like, you need to lose weight. And that was my goal. All I wanted to do was to lose the weight. And what was amazing is that when I started to see my blood sugar and my labs come down, my doctor, my nephrologist, 5 months on this, my kidney doctor says, I don't know what you're doing, but keep doing it. This is why I'm so passionate about this, because I wish, honestly, that somebody would have shared this with me, would have shared this with my family. I want you guys to think about your family reunion for a second. You've got both sides of the family there. How many people are struggling with these issues? And my question to you guys is, what have you been doing that's, that maybe you've tried a lot of things? I have a customer, he gets on these lives sometimes, Gene Parrish, he's 89 years old. He's so funny. But he's like, you know what? He's like, I have tried so many different things. And when he understood what insulin resistance was and started connecting the dots, he realized what he needed to do to make some changes. And sometimes it's hard to make changes because we're set in our ways, we're doing things. And Taterbug, my heart goes out to you. I had stage 4, and I'm so grateful again that my friend cared enough about me to share this with me. She didn't know whether or not I would actually try it. And quite honestly, when I ordered this, folks, I gave it the full 90 days. I wrote on my calendar, day 87, okay? I'm calling the company and I'm getting my money back because I just didn't think that this could work. But it does. There's a reason why this happens to be in the physician's desk reference, the Feel Great system, right? There's a reason why doctors are starting to recommend it. And it can be an alternative to what you are currently doing. Go. If you can make sure that you're, what I'll do, Go, I just followed you back, okay? As long as your settings allow me to message you, what I'll do is I will send you a message inside TikTok when I get off this live, if that works for you, okay? Or feel free, better yet, Go, if you will DM me here in TikTok, okay, I will respond to it as soon as I get off, okay? And that way I know that that you and I can communicate, okay? Taterbug, 1975. Folks, there are hundreds of people that I personally know that have improved even type 2 diabetes. Folks, when you think about insulin resistance, okay, what's crazy is that far too often we are just throwing medications at these symptoms. Diabetes is a symptom of insulin resistance, just like migraines are a symptom of insulin resistance, okay? When this is high all the time, it leads to the damage that leads to diabetes. And when diabetes leads to cardiovascular disease and Alzheimer's and dementia and neuropathy. Neuropathy is not anything that I would ever want to experience. And, you know, we have, where is that? Let me grab something real quick, folks. Turn off the better light. I hope this is charged enough so I can. And I see a lot of people adding these to the cart, and I truly hope, folks, that when you guys order, by the way, you're going to be connected to me, okay? And what's going to happen is once you order, okay, I'm actually going to send you a message that will outline exactly how to use. What's going on here? How to use it. Let's see here. Okay, hopefully. All right, let me find this. Where is this? Appreciate your patience, folks. Better yet, let me do this. Mark, hey guys, thank you so much for continuing to tap the screen and send those hearts, okay? I really do appreciate that. All right, Toothless. And folks, if this resonates with you, and if this sounds like what you have been looking for, you don't have to wait to start fixing your health, right? And that's what I love the most about this is just, this is my, I just found this, but this is my mom. What's going on here? My mom, who's in a memory care facility in Tennessee. I miss my mom. I don't get to see her as much, which is so hard because I wish that I can see her. I live here in Arizona, but you know, I have a twin sister in Utah, a sister in Arkansas, a sister in Tennessee, and just people are kind of scattered all over the place, you know. So let's see here. What I'm trying to find is, and I have it on my phone, but my phone is charging right now. Well, I'll find this. Potato bug. You know, what's amazing is that, you know, I have a colleague who had type 1 diabetes, and type 1 diabetes and type 2 are completely different, right? Type 1 diabetics, you have an autoimmune disease, it's attacking your pancreas. So they've got to inject insulin because without it, you know, it can be fatal, right? But a type 2 diabetic, right, it's a lifestyle disease that we have. And so what most people don't realize is that when you get your insulin under control, which is the important part about this, right? What we want to do is we want to help get the insulin and glucose to reduce, and we want it to reduce on its own, okay? And this is where this comes in, right? When I'm sipping on this tea, whenever I'm not eating, it helps to keep my blood sugar level, normal. Keeps your insulin low, okay? When your insulin is low, this is when your body literally stops storing energy and now it's burning it. It becomes the primary source of fuel in our bodies, okay? And so when I sip on this first thing in the morning, okay, what it does is it keeps my body in this fasted state, and it keeps your body burning that excess belly FAT, and it starts to get rid of that. Then you have lunch, just as normal, okay? And then the second T right after lunch, it helps prevent us from snacking in the afternoon. I mean, how many of us love to snack in the afternoon? Okay, a lot of us do. And this costs about $5 a day, $5.20 or something like that, which is less than what we spend on fast food and coffee and energy drinks and snacks. And so, folks, here's what I would encourage you. If you are looking to improve insulin sensitivity, give yourself 90 days. If you're not convinced, if you don't notice any relief at all, just get a refund. Okay, but I do encourage people to use it for the full 90 days because our bodies are very different, right? It might take somebody 30 days, it might take 60 days. You never know. But the best part about this is that you have no risk. You can try it for 90 days. And if you're not satisfied with the results that you have or didn't get, they'll refund your purchase. It's that simple. And, I've been using this since January of 2024. I will never stop using it. Now, people don't have to use this for the rest of your life. You don't have to. But people have continued to use it because of how it makes them feel. And again, when we can keep our insulin, here's the thing, folks. I want you to think of insulin resistance like a fire that is burning out of control in our bodies. This is the smoke to your fire. These symptoms are the smoke to your fire. And we can either continue to sprinkle water on the smoke, hoping that the fire is going to get out, or we can tackle the root cause, which is insulin resistance. And what's amazing is that when you put a fire out, doesn't the smoke fade away at some point? And if the smoke fades away, the fire at some point will be put out. And when we can extinguish that fire, right, these symptoms start to go away. Folks, I didn't know what insulin resistance was. I didn't realize the importance of keeping our blood sugar at a normal range and our insulin, because insulin is what drives your blood sugar, by the way. Okay, it's amazing that when we go to a doctor, they're checking our glucose, but they never check our insulin. Insulin is what controls the glucose. And this is why I'm passionate about teaching this, because, most people don't know this. And when you're using this, okay, it's a very simple approach, okay? You sip this in the morning, the second one after lunch, the fiber right before your biggest meal. And this is what most people are using all the time. And what I love about this is this just happens to be a natural alternative to that. Let me see here. Just making sure I didn't miss. And Taterbug, you're welcome. And by the way, if you guys wouldn't mind, drop your location in the chat. Let me know where you guys are tuning in from. Okay, I'm always curious where people are located. Is there anybody that's having trouble? I know GoGo. I'm gonna message GoGo when I get off this, but is there anybody that's struggling with their health? North Carolina. Awesome. What part of North Carolina? In a couple weeks, or in a week, one of these, heading to Raleigh. Let me see here. And folks, thank you so much for being on this live. I really do appreciate that. Jersey Shore, love it.